This I Dig of You, Hank Mobley. And I was thinking today about some of my students in years gone by that have really turned into some really fine musicians, jazz musicians especially. And I remember one of them playing this song, or a couple of them playing this song, as a matter of fact. And, you know, it was a song I wasn't that familiar with, Hank Mobley. I can't say I listened to him that much. I've always just enjoyed playing music more than I have listening to it. Of course, I love listening to music, but, you know, if I start listening to jazz, 10 minutes later, I've turned it off and I'm down trying to work out some stuff on the piano. So listening is really important, and I wish I could give you a good playlist, but like I say, I'm not that big of a listener myself. Start with Hank Mobley. There's some Wynton Kelly's a great piano player. Gene Harris is one of my favorites for blues, and I mean, there's just so many great players, and of course, Bill Evans is one of my favorites, and so is Art Tatum. Let's go over this song. It's an up-tempo piece, and I think it's kind of good for not maybe beginning improvisers, but certainly, though it has some sections in here that I think will really help the kind of beginner to intermediate jazz students. And that's because it just uses these scale tone seventh chords at the beginning. And watch out for that misprint there, that first D flat major seventh. Anything that says D flat major seventh should be D minor seventh. I listened to the recording. It's definitely a misprint. So there is a D flat minor seventh down there, that is correct, but D flat major seventh, no, D minor seventh. So, when you have these scale tone seventh chords, and we should probably play them a little bit higher, maybe find some inversions, you're just basically making your melody up around the major scale. And the piano player starts with a great solo, and he's got some stuff like that. Stuff that's right around the actual chord tones, the scale tone seventh chords. Other people call them diatonic chords.
Some folks call it a slang blade.
I call them scale tone chords. So it's kind of like you're really just soloing on two chords here, because, this is B flat major seventh. It's a rootless voicing, and then here's C minor with a ninth in there, which is certainly good. And then instead of D minor up here, with that E that doesn't really fit the key, it's better to just go to a D minor like this. No ninth or anything, but that's fine. So, the bass player might be playing a D at that point, and then C minor. And then once again, it's D minor seventh. All right, and then we have a nice 2-5-1 into E flat. And here's where the chords get a little bit more complicated, and a little bit of chromaticism here, because we're going from that to an E minor to an A. But that gets us right to our D minor, you see. And sometimes, that E minor would be a minor 7 flat 5 to make it a typical 2-5-1 into a minor chord. Has a minor 7 flat 5 here, but by no means is it always that way. You can do it any way you like, really. So you've got to kind of shift into the new key here. And then here we hit a very classic kind of reharmonization idea that's used in a lot of songs, like Have You Met Miss Jones, for instance, where you've got these 3, 6, 2, 5s going on, but you sneak in one of these 2 5s right there, and then you move on to the real 2-5 there, C minor and F seventh. So it took me a long time to get comfortable playing over those kind of changes. I can remember in my early 30s dealing with that, just, screwing it up time after time. And, it takes a lot of practice. And maybe if I hadn't been so high at the time, I might have done better. All right. So where is that now? We're coming around. And I will say, now I used a lot of diminished scale there, but on the recording, the Hank Mobley recording, a lot of use of the diminished scale there over little places like that. Now in the second half of the solo, and I'm not going to play it on this video. Go. There's a link in the description. Go listen to it. I mean, really, it's a great solo, a great song. Here's kind of what happens in the second half of the solo. It starts off the same way. Somewhere around here, he kind of messes up. He kind of goes like that. And he meant to go on, but the fingers just weren't there. And so instead of messing it up, he just stopped, took a breath, started a new line, and it sounds great. Maybe it's not a mistake because, he made it work. Just in the moment. So, you can call it a mistake maybe, but, it certainly didn't end up being a mistake. It might have started off that way. Anyway, we get to this E flat the second time, but instead, he kind of gives it the blues kind of thing. All right, which is kind of a reharmonization, It says go to E minor and do that same turn thing, but he just went kind of the diminished chord, right out of an 8-bar blues, basically, and then, D minor and B flat are almost the same, and then into maybe an altered G, and then, we've got the 2-5 taking us home. There's one place up there where I think the 2-5 is kind of extended. Yeah, sometimes that F minor B flat is done in with 2 bars, so maybe that line that has the misprint D flat, which should be a D minor, and then F minor, and it gets one of those little patterns going too, like that. So in some ways, maybe this could be a beginner video, especially if you take it slow, because it's in the key of B flat. And, for jazz players, we often play with saxophone, trumpet, trombone, and various other horn instruments, which are often pitched in B flat. So they like to play in that key. And even though our blues scale doesn't fit really great under our fingers, because we play in B flat so often that we get kind of accustomed to playing in that key, and it's a good thing to do that. So learn all your blues riffs in that key, and the 2-5 ones. And what else do you need to know in here? You need to know how to go a 2-5 anyway in D flat minor, and then quickly change to the real 2-5. I don't know what I'm doing here. Practice that line a lot, and it'll be great practice. It's not just in this song that you'll get a kind of a reharmonization like that. It can happen in lots of different tunes, especially songs from this era. Thanks, everyone, especially for Patreon, PayPal, comments, thumbs up, notifications, subscribe. See you next time.